I thought I was building our future. I sold everything I had in California, my home, my security, my past, all for her. All because she looked at me like I still mattered. But the truth? I was just the bank. And the moment the money ran out, so did she. The house on Maple Street was mine for 42 years. I bought it in 1983 with Margaret, back when Sacramento still felt small and the neighborhood was full of young families like ours. 3 bedrooms, a backyard with a lemon tree, a garage where I kept my tools organized on pegboards. I worked at the post office for 38 years. Same route, same streets, same people waving from their porches. It was a good life, simple, predictable, safe. Then Margaret died, and the house became a tomb. Every room reminded me of her. The kitchen where she made coffee every morning. The living room where we watched Jeopardy together. The bedroom where I slept alone for 6 years, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was all that was left. My daughter Beth called once a month, maybe. She had her own life in Oregon, her own problems. I didn't blame her. I was just the old man who couldn't let go. But God, I was lonely. The kind of lonely that makes you talk to yourself just to hear a voice. The kind that makes you wonder if anyone would notice if you disappeared. One night I was scrolling through Facebook, not really looking for anything, just killing time before bed. That's when I saw it. A post from Jim, a guy I used to work with. He'd retired to the Philippines 5 years ago. The photos showed him on a beach, smiling, younger somehow, with a woman half his age holding his hand. The caption said something like, "Living the dream in paradise." I stared at that photo for 20 minutes. I started watching YouTube videos that night. Retired men talking about cheap living, warm weather, beautiful women who appreciated older guys. I told myself I was just curious, just exploring options. But deep down, I knew what I was doing. I was looking for an escape, a way to matter again, a way to feel alive before I died. I booked a one-way ticket to Manila 3 weeks later. Beth called when she found out. "Dad, what are you doing?" "I'm just going to visit. See what it's like. You sold your car. I don't need it there." "Dad, please, don't do anything stupid. I'm 70 years old, Beth. I think I can handle a vacation." She went quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You're not coming back, are you?" I didn't answer. What could I say? That I was tired of being invisible? That I needed someone to look at me like I was still a person? She wouldn't understand. Nobody would. "Just be careful, Dad. Please." "I will. I love you." She hung up without saying it back. I told myself it didn't matter. I was doing this for me. For once in my life, I was doing something for me. I landed in Manila on a Tuesday morning. The heat hit me the second I stepped off the plane. Thick and wet, like breathing through a towel. The city was chaos. Jeepneys honking, people everywhere, street vendors shouting in Tagalog. I stayed in Makati for 2 weeks, trying to adjust, trying to figure out what the hell I was doing. I ate alone, walked alone, sat in my hotel room at night watching Filipino game shows I didn't understand. I was starting to think I'd made a mistake. Then someone on a forum mentioned Dagupan. Quieter, they said. Real Philippines, beach towns, friendly people. I took a bus north, 6 hours through mountain roads and rice fields, and checked into a small resort right on the water. It wasn't fancy. Bamboo cottages, a small restaurant with plastic chairs, a beach that was more rocks than sand, but it was quiet, peaceful, the kind of place where you could hear yourself think. That's where I met Erlinda. She brought me breakfast the first morning. Pancakes, mango, coffee that tasted like it was made with river water. I was sitting alone on the patio, staring at the ocean, when she smiled at me. Not the polite smile you give a customer, a real smile, warm, like she actually saw me. "Good morning, sir. How you like your room?" "It's fine. Quiet. Quiet is good. You are from America?" "California. Sacramento." "Oh, California. I see on TV. Very nice." She laughed, and it wasn't fake. I could tell. She sat down at the table next to me, even though there were no other guests around. She asked me about Sacramento, about what I did, about why I came to the Philippines. I told her I was retired, that I wanted to see the world before I got too old. She nodded like she understood. My father, he also worked very hard. He is fisherman, very tired. I think maybe one day he want to rest too. You live here? In Dagupan? Yes, sir. I live with my Lola, my grandmother, my father and brother too. We are not rich, but we are happy. She said it with such honesty. No bitterness, no resentment, just fact. I liked that. We talked for an hour that morning. She told me about her family, about how she never finished high school because they couldn't afford it, about her dream to go to college someday and become a teacher. I told her about Margaret, about Beth, about the empty house I'd left behind. She listened, really listened, not just waiting for her turn to talk. When she left to clean the other rooms, I sat there feeling something I hadn't felt in years, seen, like I mattered to someone. Over the next 2 weeks, we talked every day. She'd bring me breakfast, sit with me, tell me stories about growing up in Dagupan. I'd tell her about my life, my regrets, the things I wished I'd done differently. She laughed at my jokes. She asked questions. She touched my hand once when I talked about Margaret, and I swear to God I almost cried. One night she invited me to dinner at a local place, away from the resort, just the two of us. We sat at a plastic table under a tarp, eating grilled fish and rice. She looked beautiful in the dim light, her hair pulled back, her eyes soft and kind. Raymond, can I tell you something? Of course. My Lola, my grandmother, she is very sick. Her heart. The doctors say she need medicine, but it is very expensive. I work here. I save money, but it is not enough. She looked down, embarrassed. I felt my chest tighten. How much do you need? No, I cannot ask you. You are guest. I want to tell someone. I feel so worry. Erlinda, how much? She hesitated. Then she said, 5,000 pesos, maybe $50. I pulled out my wallet and handed her 100. She stared at it like I'd just given her 1,000,000. Raymond, no, this is too much. Take it, please. I want to help, she cried. Right there at the table, tears running down her face. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it. Thank you. Thank you so much. You are a very good man. I felt like a hero, like I'd done something that mattered. For the first time in years, I felt useful, needed, alive. A week later, she told me about her brother needing help with his motorcycle. Then her father's roof leaking. Then school supplies for a cousin. Every time, she cried. Every time, she thanked me. Every time, I gave her money. 50 here, 100 there. I told myself it wasn't much. I had savings. I could afford it. And besides, she wasn't asking for herself. She was helping her family. That's what good people do. The last night before I flew back to Sacramento, we sat on the beach together. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I wish you not have to go. I'll come back, I promise. You will? Yes, soon. She looked up at me, her eyes wide and hopeful. Raymond, I think maybe I have feelings for you. Is that okay to say? My heart stopped. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. I have feelings for you too, Erlinda. She kissed me, soft, careful, like she meant it. I flew back to Sacramento the next morning, but I left my heart in Dagupan. I couldn't stop thinking about her. We video chatted every night. She'd show me her room, her grandmother, the beach. She'd tell me about her day, about how much she missed me. I'd sit in my empty house, staring at her face on the screen, feeling like I'd finally found something real. I miss you, Raymond. I miss you too. When you come back, soon, I'm working on it. I think about you every day. I dream about you. I wanted to believe every word, and maybe that was the problem. I wanted it so badly that I ignored the part of my brain screaming that this didn't make sense, that a 24-year-old woman shouldn't want a 70-year-old man unless there was a reason. But I silenced that voice, because for the first time in 6 years, I didn't feel alone. I called a realtor the next week. I want to sell the house. Are you sure, Raymond? This is a big decision. I'm sure. Where will you go? Philippines. I'm retiring there. He didn't argue. He listed it the following Monday. Beth called 2 days later. furious. Dad, what the hell are you doing? I'm selling the house. Why? Because I don't need it anymore. Where are you going to live? I'm moving to the Philippines. Silence. Then, are you out of your mind? Beth, I'm fine. I'm happy. You're happy? Dad, you met some girl online and now you're selling your house? Do you hear yourself? She's not some girl. Her name is Erlinda. And she cares about me. She cares about your money. That's not fair, isn't it? Dad, how much have you given her? I didn't answer. How much, Dad? That's none of your business. You're being manipulated. You're being used. And you're too stubborn to see it. You don't know her. And you do? You've known her for what, a month? 2? Beth, I'm 70 years old. I don't need your permission. No, you don't. But don't come crying to me when this blows up in your face. She hung up. I sat there, angry, hurt, defensive, but I told myself she was wrong. She didn't understand. She didn't know Erlinda like I did. The house sold for $485,000. I wired $30,000 to Erlinda the day escrow closed. For the house, I told her. Our house. I'm coming back, and we're going to build a life together. She cried on the video call. Raymond, I cannot believe. You are too good for me. I love you, Erlinda. She paused, just for a second. Then she said, I love you too. I booked my flight that night, one way. No return date. I was done with California, done with loneliness, done with being invisible. I was going to start over, with her, for her. I believed it with everything I had. I arrived in Dagupan on a Sunday. Erlinda picked me up at the bus station with her brother, Joel. He was 29, skinny, with a lazy smile and a handshake that felt like holding a fish. Kuya Raymond, welcome, welcome. He kept calling me Kuya, older brother. It felt forced. Good to meet you, Joel. My sister, she talk about you all the time. You are very generous man. I didn't like the way he said generous, like it was the only thing that mattered. But I ignored it. Erlinda was glowing, holding my arm, introducing me to everyone we passed on the street. This is Raymond, my boyfriend, from America. I felt proud. Stupid as it sounds, I felt proud, like I was somebody. The house was smaller than I expected. A concrete box with a tin roof, sitting on a dirt lot at the edge of town. The walls were unpainted. The windows didn't have screens. The floor was cracked. Erlinda, this is what we bought? The builder, he say he need more money to finish. He cheat us, Raymond. I am so sorry. How much more? Maybe $10,000. For paint? For tiles? For windows? I felt my stomach drop. But I looked at her face, saw the worry, the guilt, and I couldn't say no. Okay, I'll take care of it, she hugged me. Thank you, Raymond. You are so good to me. I wired the money the next day. That afternoon, her father came by, Tate Ernesto, 52 years old, sunburned, with the hollow eyes of a man who drank too much. He shook my hand and smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You take care of my daughter? I will, I promise. Good, she is good girl. Family is everything here, you understand? I understand. If you need anything, you ask me. We are family now. He said it like a transaction, like I'd just bought into something. That night, Erlinda introduced me to her grandmother, Manang Luz. She was 68, frail, with hands like bird bones. She sat in a plastic chair outside the concrete house, smiling at me with missing teeth. Lola, this is Raymond. Ah, Raymond, you are good man. You help my Apo. I try. She love you very much. I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to believe that. But even then, sitting there in the heat, surrounded by her family, I felt something twist in my gut, a whisper that said, this isn't right. But I pushed it down. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was finally getting what I wanted, a family, a purpose, a reason to wake up. The next week, the requests started. Raymond, my Lola need medicine. Her heart is very bad. How much? $300. I gave her $400. Raymond, Kuya Joel, his motorcycle is broken. He need it for work. How much? $500. I gave her 600. Raymond, my father, his roof is leaking. The rain come inside. How much? $800. I gave her 1,000. Every time, she cried. Every time, she thanked me. Every time, she kissed me and told me I was the best thing that ever happened to her. And every time, I felt a little more empty. But I didn't stop, because stopping meant admitting I'd made a mistake. And I couldn't do that. Not yet. 3 months in, I started noticing things. Small things. Erlinda was different around her family. Colder, more businesslike. She'd laugh with me in private, touch my face, tell me she loved me. But in public, she barely looked at me. She'd walk ahead, talk to her friends in Tagalog, leave me standing there like a stranger. Her phone was always face down. Always. If it buzzed, she'd grab it fast, glance at the screen, and put it away. Who was that? Just my friend. Which friend? You don't know her. She'd smile, kiss my cheek, change the subject. I wanted to ask more, but I was afraid of the answer. One night I woke up at 2 a.m. She wasn't in bed. I walked outside and saw her on the porch, talking on the phone in a low voice. I couldn't understand the words, but I knew the tone. Angry, defensive. She saw me and hung up fast. Who was that? Kuya Joel. He is drunk again. Always problem. At 2 a.m? He don't care about time, Raymond. I am sorry. Go back to sleep. I didn't. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling something crack inside me. The next week, Joel came by asking for $5,000 to start a small business. What kind of business? Sorry store. You know, small shop, sell snacks, drinks. Very good money. Joel, I already gave you money for the motorcycle. That is different. This is investment. I pay you back. When? He laughed. Soon, Kuya. Soon. Erlinda was sitting next to me. She touched my hand. Raymond, it is good idea. Help my brother. He want to work, to be better. I looked at her face, saw the hope. Or maybe it was just strategy. I couldn't tell anymore. $5,000 is a lot of money, Erlinda. I know. But you are rich, right? You have money from house. Rich. The word stung. Like that's all I was to them. A bank. A wallet with legs. Let me think about it. Her face changed. Closed off. Okay, you think. That night, she barely spoke to me. She didn't kiss me goodnight. She turned her back and went to sleep. I lay there, awake, feeling like I was losing something I never really had. The next morning, I went to a small cafe in town. That's where I met Carla. She was in her 50s, Filipino, but she'd lived in Canada for 20 years before moving back. She owned the cafe, made the best coffee I'd had since leaving California. You're the American living with Erlinda, right? Yeah, that's me. How's that going? Good. Fine. She smiled, but it was sad. You're a good man, Raymond. I can tell. Just be careful, okay? Careful of what? People here, they see foreigners. They see dollar signs. Not everyone, but some. Erlinda's not like that. Maybe not. I hope not. But just watch yourself. I left the cafe feeling uneasy. That night, Erlinda asked again about the money for Joel. Raymond, you think about it? I did. And I don't think it's a good idea right now. Her face went cold. Why not? Because I've already given your family a lot of money, and I need to be smart about what I have left. Smart? You think I am trying to trick you? I didn't say that. You think I am with you for money? No, Erlinda. She started crying. Real tears. Or at least they looked real. I love you, Raymond. I don't care about money. I care about you. But you don't trust me. You think I am a bad person. I don't think that. Then help my brother. Please. He is family. You help family. I felt my chest tighten. The guilt, the shame, the fear of losing her. Okay. I'll do it. She stopped crying instantly, smiled, kissed me. Thank you, Raymond. You are best man in the world. I wired the money the next day. Joel never opened the store, and something inside me broke. By month 8, I'd spent over $120,000. I sat in the unfinished house one night, staring at my bank account on my phone, watching the numbers shrink. I felt sick, hollow. I'd given up everything. My house, my savings, my daughter. And for what? A concrete box and a woman who barely looked at me anymore. I tried talking to Erlinda about it. We need to slow down with the spending. She looked up from her phone. What you mean? I mean, I've given your family a lot of money. And I don't have unlimited funds. You have money from house. I had money. It's almost gone. She stared at me like I'd just told her the sky was falling. What you mean, gone? I mean, I've spent most of it. On this house, on your family, on everything. Her face changed, hardened. So you are poor now? I'm not poor. I just need to be careful. Careful. You always say careful. But before, you give money, no problem. Now you change. I'm not changing. I'm just asking us to slow down. She stood up, grabbed her purse. Where are you going? Out. Erlinda, I need think, Raymond. Maybe you change. Maybe you not. Same man. She left, slammed the door. I sat there, alone, feeling my world collapse. She didn't come back that night, or the next. By day 3, I was panicking. I called her phone. No answer. I called Joel. He said he didn't know where she was. I called Tate Ernesto. He said she was fine, just needed space. Space from what? From pressure, Raymond. You pressure her too much. I didn't pressure her. I just asked her to slow down. Money is important here. Family is important. Maybe you don't understand. He hung up. I sat in that empty house, listening to the tin roof rattle in the wind, and I realized something. I was alone, again. On the 4th day she came back. No apology, no explanation. She just walked in, put her bag down, and looked at me. I think maybe this not working, Raymond. My heart stopped. What? You and me. Maybe we are too different. Erlinda, no, don't say that. I love you. Love is not enough. I need someone who support me, support my family. I have supported you. I've given you everything. Everything? You still have money. You just don't want to share. That's not fair. She looked at me with eyes that were completely empty. Maybe you should go back to America. I felt like I'd been punched. You don't mean that. I don't know what I mean, Raymond. I need space. She walked into the bedroom and closed the door. I stood there, shaking, feeling everything I'd built crumble around me. I couldn't take it anymore. The silence, the coldness, the way she looked through me like I didn't exist. I needed to know the truth. I needed to see her, really see her. So I got up early one morning, before she woke up, and took a tricycle to her family's house. It was a 10-minute ride through dirt roads and banana trees. I paid the driver, walked up to the small concrete house, and froze. She was sitting outside with a man, young, maybe late 20s. He was wearing a grease-stained shirt, had tattoos on his arms. A mechanic, I guessed. They were sitting close, too close. She was laughing. He was touching her arm. I stood there, hidden behind a tree, watching. My chest felt like it was caving in. She leaned into him. He whispered something in her ear. She smiled. That same smile she gave me when we first met. I stepped out from behind the tree. She saw me. Her face didn't change. No panic, no guilt, nothing. Just cold recognition. She stood up, walked over to me slowly. Raymond, what you doing here? Who is he? A friend. A friend? Yes. The guy stood up, looked at me, smirked, didn't say a word, just stood there like he owned the place. Erlinda, tell me the truth. Who is he? She sighed, like I was annoying her. His name is Lando. He is my friend. Does he know about me? Yes. Does he know you told me you loved me? She didn't answer. I felt my throat tighten. How long? How long what? How long have you been with him? Raymond, you don't understand. How long? She looked me in the eye. No emotion. No regret. Before you, during you, after you, does it matter? I felt my knees go weak. You used me. I did not use you. You give me money because you want to. I never force you. You told me you loved me. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. But you are old, Raymond, and I am young. What you think was going to happen? I couldn't breathe. I turned around, walked away. She didn't follow me. She didn't call my name. She just went back to Lando, sat down, and kept talking like I was never there. I took a tricycle back to the house, packed my things, and sat on the bed, staring at the wall. I'd given her everything, my home, my money, my heart, and she gave me nothing, not even a real goodbye. I didn't confront her, didn't yell, didn't ask for the money back. What was the point? She'd already won. I wrote her a letter instead, short, simple, honest. Erlinda, I hope you find what you're looking for. I know now it was never me. The house is yours. I don't want it. I don't want anything from you. I just want to go home. Goodbye. I left it on the table, called a taxi, and went to the airport. I didn't look back. At the airport, I sat in the terminal, staring at my boarding pass, feeling numb. That's when I heard a voice. Raymond? I looked up. It was Carla, the cafe owner. She was holding a small package wrapped in banana leaves. I heard you were leaving. I wanted to give you this. What is it? Bibinka. For the flight, and this. She handed me a folded note. I opened it. It said, "You deserved better." I started crying, right there in the airport. I couldn't stop. She sat down next to me, didn't say anything, just let me cry. I was so stupid. No, you were hopeful. That's not stupid. I gave her everything. I know. And she didn't care. I know. What's wrong with me? She looked at me, her eyes kind and sad. Nothing, Raymond. There's nothing wrong with you. You just wanted to matter. And you do. Just not to her. I wiped my face, embarrassed. Thank you, Carla. Go home. Fix things with your daughter. Start over. You still have time. I nodded. She hugged me, and I got on the plane. As we took off, I looked out the window at Dagupan disappearing below, the house I'd bought, the life I'd tried to build, the woman I'd loved who never loved me back. I thought about what Carla said, that I still had time, that I still mattered. I wanted to believe her. But right then, 35,000 feet above the Pacific, I felt like the loneliest man in the world, and I wondered if I'd ever stop feeling that way. I landed in San Francisco, took a bus to Sacramento, and checked into a cheap motel near the freeway. I didn't have a house anymore, didn't have a plan. I just existed. I called Beth from the motel room. She answered on the third ring. Dad? Hey. Silence. Then, are you okay? No. Where are you? Sacramento. At a motel. What happened? I told her everything. The house. The money. Erlinda. Lando. The letter. The goodbye. She didn't say I told you so. She didn't lecture me. She just listened. When I finished, she said, I'm coming to get you. Beth, you don't have to. I'm coming to get you. I'll be there tomorrow. Don't do anything stupid. Just wait for me. Okay. I love you, Dad. I cried again. I love you too. She hung up. I sat on the edge of the motel bed, staring at the wall, thinking about how I'd lost everything chasing something that was never real. But Beth was coming, and maybe that was something. The next day, she drove down from Oregon. She helped me find a small apartment, helped me set up a bank account with what little I had left, helped me find a therapist. I started going every week. Talked about Margaret, about loneliness, about how I'd convinced myself that love could save me. The therapist said something that stuck with me. You can't buy love, Raymond. You can only give it and hope it's returned. I thought about that a lot. I also joined a grief support group. Bunch of old guys like me, sitting in a church basement, drinking bad coffee, talking about loss. I didn't say much at first, just listened. But after a few weeks, I told them my story. They didn't judge me. They just nodded. One guy said, We've all been there, man. Maybe not the Philippines. But we've all been desperate enough to believe a lie. It helped. knowing I wasn't alone, knowing I wasn't the only fool in the world. Months passed. I didn't date, didn't look for love, didn't even think about it. I just tried to rebuild. Got a part-time job at a hardware store. Started going to the gym. Called Beth once a week. One day, I got a message on Facebook from Erlinda. Raymond, I am sorry for everything. I was wrong. I miss you. I stared at it for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to ask her why, to tell her how much she hurt me, but I didn't. I just deleted it. She didn't deserve my anger, and I didn't deserve to carry hers. A few months later, Carla sent me a photo. The house in Dagupan, finished, painted, beautiful, with a new family standing outside. Thought you'd want to know, she wrote. They're good people. The house is in good hands. I smiled, not because I was over it, but because I wasn't angry anymore. The house was never mine. It was just a dream I bought into, and maybe that was okay. I sat on a park bench that evening, watching the sunset over the Sacramento River. The same river I'd walked along with Margaret 40 years ago. The same city I'd tried to escape. The same life I thought wasn't enough. And I whispered to myself, I was enough. I just needed to believe it. I still don't know if I do, but I'm trying. And maybe that's all any of us can do. Just keep trying, even when it hurts, even when we fail, even when we lose everything, because the alternative is giving up. And I'm not ready to do that yet. Not yet.